Guys, and welcome back to my channel for the latest episode of the weekly Chelsea transfer news. I say weekly just because it happened to be weekly this week. Not necessarily always weekly, depends on the news. But there is a lot of Chelsea news to get through. I wasn't available to stream when the whole Timo Werner leaving for RB Leipzig thing came out, so we will also discuss that, as well as the latest news surrounding somehow Chelsea's raid of Barcelona. They're trying to raid us with Christensen and Alonso. Okay, they failed on Aspie, but sure. And now we're trying to raid them for at least two, but not necessarily two of the two that I would prefer from their players. But hey, that is something else for us to discuss in a little bit. Pice, I'll start with you. Thank you for being here, as always, my man. The week has been a little bit quieter for news than we might have expected, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been. There's been a lot of sort of talks, obviously, around Frenkie de Jong and waiting for his decision really to see if he accepts a pay cut, because it looks like if he's going to leave, it will be to Chelsea. So, I guess the quiet one really has been around Wesley Fofana. Now, I know obviously many sources this week have said, that Chelsea are going to be the third time. That's all they've really said. Like, we haven't heard if this bid has gone in. It's just been prepared and stuff, but I feel like it might be taking a bit of time because potentially this is going to be our last offer and they want to talk to them to make sure it's the right amount instead of just because the first two bids were reported very quickly. So I just feel like the third one, that may be like, right, this is it. We've got to let's figure out the structure, the payment terms, and then let's send it over when we're fully confident that they might accept it. Brendan Rodgers' stance on Fofana is definitely changing. I mean, just a week ago, he said that Fofana is not for sale and he won't be leaving. And then today in his press conference, he said, we will have to wait and see what develops. The club will look at offers and things like that. So it's slowly getting there. I don't know if we'll actually get him because, again, payment structure, payment terms, price is hugely important. But yeah, it's definitely been a quiet week. There's been obviously a couple of outgoings mainly this week that have taken place, but not much on incomings yet.
For sure. No, it's definitely like that. And it's a bit of a weird one because we probably would have expected a little bit more come, like you said, we had the two Fofana bids already before we played Everton. So the fact that now a few days after Everton, now it's not a Thursday and we played on Saturday, and there's still nothing really new since then is a bit weird. But of course, part of it is also, for example, to do with Frenkie de Jong. The fact that this seems to be kind of us kind of just waiting for his decision, which is a bit strange. Not sure if that's how you'd word it. Maybe there's a little bit more to it, but essentially we're kind of just waiting for your wishes. Big up Hajir, by the way. I haven't spoken to you in a hot minute. Hope you're well, mate. But yeah, so it's an interesting one. Aaron, let me get to you. We'll need to talk about is the elephant in the room anymore? The elephant in the room from 2 days ago. Timo Werner has finally left Chelsea Football Club for, a fee of around 20 million plus add-ons. Whatever it in the end comes to be, whatever those add-ons are, we don't know for sure. He was willing to take I think, as much as 50% cut his wages into half. He was then asked about this in an interview in German media when obviously he was announced again as a new signing. He was all sorts of like, oh yeah, footballers earn enough money anyway. It was more important for him to get game time again. And he was also like, if he had another season at Chelsea like the last two, he wasn't sure if he would get the opportunity to prove himself at a top level again. And that's why he had to take it now. But what are your thoughts on it? Now, I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter where people were like, oh, he gave his best every game. And I'm like, excuse me. I understand we're all being nice to players that are leaving and everything. And I also, good luck. Hopefully you take the Bundesliga away from Bayern. Even though I don't like Red Bull any more than Bayern. But, at least it will be something interesting. But why are people making it up as if he tried that hard every game? I don't understand. Because that's clearly not true. There was the end of last season that you'll just forget. Where he just kept backing out of challenges, costing us goals and points. So we can thank him for his overall services, and he certainly, for the large majority of his time, he always gave his best, but not always. So let's not pretend that he always did that. I don't understand this weird kind of feeble that fans have to make players look better than they are. It's the same thing we've done with so many players after they've left, except Willian and, especially Willian. But Pedro, for some reason, got exactly that. Pedro was no better than Willian, in my opinion. If anything, most of the time you're frustrating me more, but somehow in the fans' opinions, they rate Pedro much higher than Willian. But anyway, me waffling on again. I'm sorry. Aaron, what did you make of Timo Werner leaving? You think it was not enough money, or are you happy with it, just the fact that he's gone? Because clearly things weren't happening.
Well, firstly, thanks for having me. But I'm chuffed to see Werner leave because I think it was long overdue. I think it was, with a player like him, it's difficult to find a suitor because from seeing his ability, I don't really know who other than Leipzig would want to take a gamble on him, because I don't know how the man's a professional footballer. Don't get me wrong, nice guy, whatever, does his interviews, that's all good. But yeah, to have to see him on a football pitch is not it, and thankfully it's not going to be in Chelsea blue anymore. So when I go to a game, I'll be slightly less frustrated, should we say. But no, I'm chuffed to see him go. I think as long as he's happy going off to Leipzig, we're happy because he's not with us anymore. So that deal's done. We can all forget about it now. We've got rid of at least one bit of deadwood, so it's we've done well. But the fee obviously is difficult, because to recoup what we paid after what he's produced over the last couple of years, is you're not gonna get anywhere close to that. But I think I saw something on Twitter where it was sort of like explaining how the fee sort of works, and actually it's not as bad as it seems for the 2 years that he's already been there. So I think it's not ideal, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just good to finally get him off the books and not have to worry about him anymore.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, just to explain what you're talking about in terms of the financial explanation of things on Twitter. Initially, I was a little bit confused by what this is supposed to mean. By the end, and talking to a few people and thinking about it a fair bit, I can't lie, I kind of grasped the situation. Basically, what the guy's saying, okay, we've had him for 2 years already. Now, in his calculations, he was completely ignoring the fact that we were unhappy with him for the last 2 years, and that we also paid him wages and part of the transfer fee, not to him, but that's how it's accounted for the last 2 years. But he was saying, from what he still has left, 3 years on his contract, he would have cost us another 29.5 million or 28.5 million, and we got in total 25 million back. And by that logic, from today until the end of what would have been his contract, it only cost us 3.5 million to get rid of him now, basically, rather than keeping him until the end, which would have cost us that and that much. So, but actually the wages weren't included in that. So, obviously it cost us less in that sense. But that still doesn't mean we didn't already pay 9 million each for the last 2 years. But anyway, enough of that. Price, let me get to yourself. Also, your thoughts on Timo Werner. And then the next thing I will ask you is the aftermath of what we kind of got from the Everton game. Because not necessarily in terms of performance, results, blah, blah, blah. But Callum Hudson-Odoi, of course, wasn't in the squad. And then pretty much, was it the evening of the game or the latest the next day? I can't remember. We got the news that Callum Hudson-Odoi has asked to leave. Now, the next day, we got the information that he has asked to leave on loan specifically, which I'm sure you and myself as well are actually big fans of, because we like him, we rate him. Me, not as much as you on both of those things, but I still do. And I still rather do well, because I think there is a lot of talent in there that, because of injuries and other issues, we haven't managed to tap into yet. And rather than buying more Hakim Ziyech and, in all honesty, to some extent, even Christian Pulisic and Timo Werner's, I'd rather just make use of our own wingers. Like, if they're not going to be the starters anyway, some of the players we signed, just make our wingers like the backup wingers, rather than, and you could sign the starting ones. Do you know what I mean? But what do you think of all of that? Like I say, Timo Werner leaving, and then take it to the Hudson-Odoi story.
Yeah, I mean, the Timo Werner one, I'm happy with it. I think viewers by now and everyone knows how much I don't rate him. But yeah, I mean, he's gone now. So as Aaron said, we can kind of forget it. We can kind of move on. Hopefully he does well there. You never want to wish someone does terribly or get injured or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we got sort of, I don't know really. I feel like the price is a bit sort of skewed, because some people were saying like 60 mil plus add-ons. Some people were saying like 20 mil, 25 mil. So I only feel like the club will know and Leipzig will know. Even potentially Leipzig putting it out there, so they seem like they get him on the cheap maybe. But I don't know. There's a few theories out there. But at the end of the day, he's not going on loan. We've recouped some money. Obviously, this isn't Todd Boehly's investment. So I feel like he's, as you've seen with Lukaku and other players potentially leaving, he's happy to let the old regime signings go for cheaper. So yeah, I feel like he's doing a decent job now. There's definitely more links to players outgoing. Unfortunate Hudson-Odoi might be leaving. I still feel like we need him for depth this season. I do feel like obviously our attackers struggle, and it's not to say that Hudson-Odoi is going to change a massive difference, but I just think he's a better depth option than Ziyech. And I don't know, Pulisic is a tough one. They're both a bit on and off, but I still feel like he's a better player than Ziyech, and he's younger. So yeah, but I mean, the thing is with Hudson-Odoi, he's needed a loan. Like, I just feel like it's too late now. Like, he should have done it like 2 years ago or something. Like, I don't know. Like, it's not to say he's older, like or older or anything. Like, he's still really young, but it's like, I don't know. He just feels like a senior player now as compared to a youngster, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. Let's see what happens. He was in training today, so yeah. Let's see.
It's a weird one because, especially if you remember or think back to last summer, we had a loan offer for him from Borussia Dortmund, and Chelsea decided to refuse it. And I'm like, so basically for the whole season, you barely played him, other than for 7-8 games in autumn. And then the season after, you're loaning him anyway. So what was the whole point in refusing the loan last year? Like, obviously, I understand numbers probably in the squad is probably the main reason, but that is still a reason, as you said there now, because now we sold Werner, we got rid of Lukaku, let's assume we get rid of Hudson-Odoi, and apparently Hakim Ziyech also still wants to leave. Christian Pulisic probably will give it a year, but still, then we only have Havertz, Broja, Mount, who isn't even a real forward, but still, Sterling, and Pulisic. If those leave, we have 5 players for 3 positions, and even if you then sign one more, because 3 of them are then more suited to one of those positions, you don't have enough winger backup anyway. So unless we're going to sign De Jong, a striker, potentially Aubameyang, Fofana, and a winger, I don't think we should be getting rid of at least Ziyech and Hudson-Odoi. One of them maybe is okay, but not both of them. Do you see what I mean, Paz? Like, would you agree?
Yeah, I don't know if both of them will leave. If they did, I mean, yeah,
I don't know either. But he seems to. Didn't you read? Or I'm sure you read. He's apparently annoyed that he, still wants to leave and pissed off that AC Milan are taking so long now.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't sound like he wants to stay.
No, but I don't know. Like, the season's already started. Like, I don't know if there'll be sort of a late move and maybe a late opportunity for Chelsea to get a winger, and it's just like the longer it goes on, like I don't really want to, like, as much as I don't really rate Ziyech like highly, especially in the system we play, like I would still rather keep him than sign, a panic buy or something like that later on in the window that could just end up being worse than Ziyech or something like that. Like it's one of those. We've got to be very careful. We've got to move quickly. It's like I don't want to. I don't want to like. He doesn't. The thing is, though, with Ziyech, he doesn't really seem to be forcing himself out. Like, he seems in training pitches and stuff, he seems like quite happy and stuff. So I don't know whether it's just media talk or it might be one of those where he would like a move, but if he doesn't get a move, he's not really gonna,
maybe
go
it's
crazy
all
or
just
anything.
Lukaku's fault, and Lukaku's spreading in the media that Ziyech wants to leave is not true. Did you hear? Lukaku has apparently recommended Hakim Ziyech to AC Milan, the biggest rivals of Inter Milan. He recommended them his mate. So either he's a dickhead either way, because either he doesn't rate Ziyech and that's why he's recommending him to his biggest rivals, or he does rate him and then to the biggest rivals of his club, he's recommending a player that he rates. Does that man even know how to spell the word loyalty? What a dickhead, honestly. Like, what a dickhead. He's talking about, I'm so angry. Yeah, mate, we are too. We would love to slap you on your bald head, but we can't. So shut up. Do you know what I mean? But Aaron, what do you think about the Hudson-Odoi situation? Then in general, if we let go of Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech, for example, and we only get one more forward in, do you think that's enough numbers in the forward areas?
I think as you guys said already, like, it leaves you very light in the front line because of numbers. So it's kind of like it's a bit counterproductive, because although you're sending him out to develop him and whatever, which should have been done earlier, it's kind of like if you don't have the numbers and the options up front, then you're stuck with sort of the same few, and it's then a bit more difficult to actually like change up the game. Like when you want to make a sub, like having that sort of different kind of player to come on and be a bit more direct, because on that right side, you're not going to have the directness as much from Mount, or Ziyech isn't the direct type either. So I don't think it's the best thing in the world for him to be going out on loan when we haven't really. It was different if the area was addressed and someone else was brought in, but because no one's been brought in there, I don't think it's the most clever thing to do. But if I was to get rid of one of them this window, it'd be Ziyech over Hudson-Odoi anyway, because Ziyech doesn't really do as well in the system. But ultimately, it's
well,
a
to
case
be fair,
of,
we do kind of want to change the system anyway, so maybe we
That's
should
the
sell
only
Hudson-Odoi so
thing then,
Tuchel is
it's
forced into playing a different system.
Yeah, if we're looking to change a system that suits Ziyech a lot more, then maybe it makes sense. But as of what we play like, at this moment, it doesn't. But again, who knows? It's don't really know what goes on behind the scenes, that
I
sort
will
of thing.
also
So
say, can I just say, I also think Hudson-Odoi is better suited to the back four, by the way, than he is the back three, personally. So
yeah, I get that as well. But as in, when you've seen him play like the wing back role sort of thing, he's more likely to.
yeah, he's okay at wing back
attack
in
a bit
terms of
more.
actually being a forward. I mean, hey, I'm a Ruben fan. I reckon Ruben is better than Ziyech and Hudson-Odoi in the front three anyway. Better dribbling, better link-up play, stronger. The finishing is awful, just as bad as the other two. Well, just as bad as Callum. But yeah, I reckon he'd do better than a lot of them anyway. But that's just me. I know. Don't take me seriously.
Put in a word to Tuchel. See what he can do.
Hey, look at him Look at him go at wing back. Look at him go. And then compare that to Reece James against Everton.
Good point.
Gone.
That's a good point.
Let's see, there you go. That's what I'm saying. But, ladies and gentlemen, please don't go anywhere. I'm just taking the piss, all right? We're not here to only promote Ruben Loftus-Cheek propaganda. Don't worry. By the way, ladies and gentlemen,
hot take. If you put Ruben at wing back and put Reece James in the front three.
if Reece plays like he did against Everton, mate, I'd rather him in the stands than anywhere.
But no, normal Reece James. Stick him in the front three. Put Ruben wing back. That could be a little gem there.
Absolutely balling. The problem is we still wouldn't have. Well, and now we have Cucurella. Cucurella whipping those balls, and one of Ruben or Reece will get it. Ruben on the edge, Reece on the volley. We're scoring left, right, and centre. I'm a big fan, huge fan. Pies, what do you think? Reece James in the front three. Will that solve all our problems?
Bro, I said the other day, Cucurella on the left in the front three, Reece on the right, and just put sign Kalidou up front and just spam crosses to the bottom.
Yeah, but see, Kalidou is a bit like Haaland, where they're tall, and just because they're tall, you'd think they're good in the air, but they're actually not, because they were always so tall as kids. They never properly learned how to be heading the ball, because they were always the tallest.
That might be the reason to get Ronaldo then.
No. See, for heading, it is true. It is true. See, the only way I'd accept Ronaldo is like on August 31st or September 1st, when Ronaldo is so desperate to leave and not a single other club in the whole world wants him, and we can get him for like 150k a week. That's when I want that. Do you know what I mean?
So basically, just whatever's happening now until the end of the window, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. And then on the last day, you're like, 450 grand, go on then. Come on, Ronaldo. And then if he throws any sort of hissy fit, you're like, 150k a week, F off. We terminate his contract and we sit him on the road. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't care if he causes drama. But on 480k a week, like, obviously it becomes a bit of a priority. But if it's on lesser wages, then obviously we will never get Ronaldo at 150k a week. I hope everyone's aware that I'm joking. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Seemingly we're more interested in Pierre-Emerick Aumbameyang anyway. What was I talking about? I can't even remember. We threw that over to the Ruben discussion, and how did I get to the Ruben discussion? Who knows? Shall we just move on to the Barcelona drama? I think it's about time we get to the Barcelona drama. Now, we'll highlight a tweet by Wen Jacobs, who summarised the latest, of the situation pretty well. And we'll just talk through that and then explain around that, basically. So, Barcelona have reiterated to Frenkie de Jong that he must take a 50% pay cut or leave. They expect the decision imminently. They want it today. He tweeted this a few hours ago, as you can see. Well, it's now 7:22 my time, and this was at 12 midday. So they want it today. Threat of legal action against current deal hasn't moved further yet. As reported, CFC optimistic of an 80 million euro plus deal, but waiting on Frenkie de Jong's decision. Barca billing this as a straight choice between Frenkie de Jong taking a pay cut or leaving, although Juan Laporta has said he'll respect Frenkie de Jong's current deal. Barca maintain they're prepared to challenge it in court. Sources say legal action is a last resort, but more than an empty threat. Chelsea pushing on the player side. They don't want this to drag out. Barcelona on the same page. It's clear Frenkie de Jong would love to somehow stay, as he said constantly or consistently, but without a pay cut, and he's still reluctant to take one. A move away remains more likely. Now, just to explain what's happening here. Basically, the latest over the last few days has been that Barcelona have told Frenkie de Jong and a couple of other players, your contracts, those new contract extensions that you signed not long ago, are actually invalid. In those new contract extensions, by the way, they agreed to defer wages. So that's why Barcelona still owe Frenkie de Jong £17 million, because during the pandemic and during their financial struggles, they basically couldn't afford to pay him his wages. So they said, okay, could we defer them to a little bit later in your contract and we'll pay you out then? So they still owe him that. They owe way more even to Gerard Piqué, to Sergio Busquets, to Jordi Alba, to loads of players, right? And now they're saying, actually, that new contract is invalid. And he's actually on his old contract, which would mean, even though he's deferred some wages, De Jong would theoretically, if that were the case, owe Barcelona money rather than them owing him money, which is absolutely mental. And now, like Ben Jacobs says here, apparently they've basically just given him the ultimatum. Either you take a 50% wage cut or you F off, essentially. That's what they're telling him. And because Frenkie de Jong seems to not be very happy with that, there was even like sorts of things like meetings with lawyers going on between Barcelona and de Jong. Apparently he's not happy with the situation. Understandably, if and so. But I'm still a little bit confused, like, make a decision. Like, you know what I mean? Again, the tweet said Chelsea don't want this to drag on. So let's not make it drag on. Let's get this done. Like, let's get it done, really. But yeah, I mean, have I summarized what's happening with the De Jong situation pretty well? Or is there anything to add that I haven't mentioned yet?
Pretty much. I mean, yesterday, as we know, Chelsea fans have found out this summer about Mr. Gerard Moreno, who's been very, very good with the Barca news. And yeah, I was watching his stream yesterday. He was camping outside. You know, he had reporters at the club's offices. He had reporters with cameras at the Sports HQ where Frenkie de Jong arrived yesterday.
My man is milking this summer.
Yeah, and you know, he was. I was watching his stream, and he was saying, you know, big things are expected to happen tonight. And then I think he stayed live until about 11 p.m. UK, and he said, "Right, I was expecting news, but I'm going to bed now. See you tomorrow." So it was quite funny. So yeah, but he was saying he's expecting, you know, the decision imminently. I think Frenkie de Jong, so his agents have arrived in Barca. They're meeting Frenkie first to sort of discuss the proposals. Then they're going to meet Barca. And the thing is, they, like, as Ben Jacobs have said, like, they need a decision today, tomorrow, because La Liga starts and they've got to register players. So he either accepts this huge wage cut or he leaves. If he leaves, in my opinion, it is going to be to Chelsea. I mean, Fabrizio did a video last night that said Chelsea are ready. They're waiting to pay the money. They're waiting for Frenkie to say he's going to leave. But at the end of the day, like, I thought it'd be crazy today. I thought there'd be sort of loads. There's been no news about this meeting yet.
This is literally why yesterday I decided now stream Thursday. There'll be more news.
Yeah, it's very strange. Maybe it will come out later, but yeah, I mean, the threat of legal action and stuff. The thing is, like, I just feel like it's
Barcelona get desperate. I trust them to do anything. Like, there's nothing they won't do if they get desperate.
Yeah, my gut feeling is that we're going to be disappointed and he's going to accept this wage cut. But at the same time, like, why should he? Like, he shouldn't be bullied by them. But again, I did read in the show
because he dragged it out so long, right? Because Dembele was a bit of a different situation in that his decision situation came much earlier in the summer and obviously was a little bit more relevant as well. He took a wage cut in the end, but he took a wage cut from a contract that had just run out, and then he signed a new contract. That's a different situation to agreeing to lessen a money that you have a valid contract for. So because I've seen people comparing, they're like, oh, it's just going to do the same as Dembele. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong, Pies, that it couldn't happen, but I'm saying if he does it, it's a much bigger and more extreme move by him than it was by Dembele, I would say.
Yeah, I think the thing that worried me slightly was I read in the Telegraph this morning that a few sources were saying that essentially his wife is like absolutely desperate to stay in Spain, and I was like, oh no, like that when that happens,
you can
like
convince a Dutch woman to move to London. Like they're all fluent in English.
I hope so. But as soon as I hope so, but as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, like it's going to be another Hakimi where the player's obviously going to listen to his partner, and then that'll be that he's going to stay. So I don't know. I'm just waiting now for either amazing news.
Let's just find the only new girlfriend.
Yeah. I mean, it's either going to be disappointment.
Just find a new girlfriend before I come.
Yeah, we're either us and Man U are either both. More so Man U because they spent like 3 months on this. Or he's going to come to Chelsea, in my opinion. So we'll see.
There you go. Now, I don't know what Mario is talking about, whether he's talking about the Rashford to PSG rumours that Kunta mentioned before that, or whether he's talking about this Frenkie de Jong situation. But I've never heard of Samuel Marsden. Who is Samuel Marsden, Post? Do you know?
So he's the Spanish reporter for ESPN. Essentially, he was saying, like, I'm pretty sure he was saying, like, Frenkie de Jong's agents at the moment have basically told Barca and Chelsea not to use intermediaries in talks because at the moment the Frenkie de Jong's camp have said they want to stay, so there's like no point holding talks at the moment apparently. And Laporta tried to involve Pini Zahavi, who I know works with Chelsea and things in the past. So I don't know. Basically the same thing. He still wants to stay. Well, yeah, we know he wants to stay, but are you going to accept this wage card? I don't know if he's tier one. I don't know. I don't follow enough Spanish news, but he was right yesterday about he was saying there's actually no meeting planned between De Jong's agents and Barca, and even Romero said there was, and Fabrizio said actually there wasn't in the end. So he was right over that, to be fair, but we'll see.
Okay, interesting, very interesting. Now, Aaron, let me take it to you with kind of arguably the bigger question. Why are Chelsea willing? Because it's one thing, say, if we were to say the situation with Memphis Depay might become a free agent and we just pounce on the opportunity. We are apparently willing to pay upwards of 80 million euros, so upwards of 70 million pounds for Frenkie de Jong. That when you want someone like that, and when you're apparently so after, and Fabrizio Romano wording it as Todd Boehly is in love with him, Thomas Tuchel is in love with him, we want Frenkie de Jong. That doesn't seem like a situation, it's just too good of an opportunity to, let it slip away. We are willing to pay serious money for a midfielder where I'm not sure if he solves any of our midfield problems. Now, I love Frenkie de Jong. I really rate Frenkie de Jong, and I would be happy if he joined. And if he did join, I would be very sure that he'd be starting pretty much every game. But what I'm not sure about is who he'd start instead of, and whether him starting would actually change that much. Now, my only logical assumption would be that if he were to come, he would start instead of Jorginho for the most part. And be the more defensive of our double pivot, because I still don't see a change of formation happening now at this point anymore. So I assume we're going to stick to the same formation. And then us having two midfielders, one a bit more advanced, one a bit more defensive, we have plenty in the more advanced role. We have Kovacic there, we have Kante there, we have Gallagher there, we have Mount that can play it, we have Ruben Loftus-Cheek that can play it. Now, Ruben was used as the more defensive of the two last season at times, but I think most of us, at least fans, agree that he's probably better, if anything, in the more advanced of the two. So while on the more defensive one, we only have Jorginho and kind of Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and for the time being, while Ethan Ampadu hasn't officially left, I guess Ethan. But just because of the options that we do have in the squad, I would assume he would come in to play instead of Jorginho, which I'm sure he could be okay at. He's quicker, he's stronger, he's not awful defensively. But a little bit like Kovacic, his strengths are carrying the ball, dribbling, and then maybe a little bit more so than Kovacic's decisive passing in further up the pitch. Now, Kovacic has, of course, deployed that more recently, but in terms of over the span of his entire career or even the span of his Chelsea career, he's not managed to, on a regular basis, shine at the decisive passes. Do you know what I mean? Gilmour is here too. It is true, although he's not even been given a squad number, so I don't even count him anymore at this point, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, so I would assume he comes in there, but then would he really fix anything? Would he fix any of the issues, Aaron? So with that said, would you want him? Why do you think we're willing to pay so much money for him? Because like I say, I don't think we would be willing to pay so much money for him if we didn't have a specific plan for what to do with him that Tuchel is pretty sure about.
Yeah, I think Frenkie de Jong, you'd have to be blind to not realise he's a phenomenal footballer at what he does, his position. He's one of the best in the world at it. So it would be naive to say that you wouldn't want him. But in the same sense, you kind of have to think about the options we already have, sort of what his best strengths are, where he would play. So it's difficult because I saw something on Twitter which said, I don't know how reputable the source is, but it said something like Jorginho and Kante are unlikely to extend their contracts. So I don't know if that plays into the whole thing of they're trying to bring in Frenkie because they know the players are not going to extend. So they're going to have to start transitioning them out and bring in new faces, that sort of thing. But I feel like he can do the Jorginho role. Obviously, it's probably like the same as when you play Ruben deeper than further forward. It kind of limits them to what they're not as good at. Whereas if they were pushing forward in that position, they'd be a lot better. But it's one of them where it's kind of like you have to weigh it up and think, for the kind of footballer Frenkie de Jong is, to bring him in at Chelsea, it'd be amazing. But it's just the case. But
if you're not going to play him to his strength, is it worth paying 85 million?
This is the thing. It's like if you're not gonna put him in his best position, then it doesn't really make much sense. But even more so with just like the whole. Sorry, go on, Paz.
Well, I was just going to say, like, as well, it varies depending on the people you speak to. Because some people you speak to, or I've seen on Twitter, say that he's actually better as a 6, picking up the ball and passing it
Yeah,
forward,
see,
picking passes from
for
deep,
me,
and then
guys, I don't
others.
think it's a case of that he's not as good at it. I just don't think he would then deploy the strength that makes so many of the Chelsea fans want him. Like, I think Thomas Tuchel might have different view on what his big strengths are. But you know that big video that made the rounds the other day when, like, his dribble from deep and then the wonderful outside of the foot pass into the run of, was it Rafinha or Dembele, whoever it was?
I think
he wouldn't do that if he played as the deeper 6 in our system.
I think it's interesting because you could quite easily sort of mix and match. Like, you could, maybe he primarily is used as sort of the 6, and Tuchel sees him more as like basically Jorginho, but picking passes from deeper, because Jorginho doesn't do it as much naturally as Frenkie anyway.
So what you're
And then
thinking
other
is kind
games,
of like our Kovacic-Kante mix, but De Jong fitting that a bit better than Kovacic.
Yeah, and then like maybe some games he would play maybe even with Jorginho, and he would then be going forward when, I don't know, Kovacic doesn't play or something like that. So because I do think I do definitely think a lot of it has to come down with what Aaron said, is it's pre-planning for next year, because not only do we have, if we do get him, we have fantastic depth in midfield this year. It's like next year you've already got that sort of Jorginho / Kante. Like, he's kind of a 2-in-1 for me. So I'm guessing that's why they're after him, as well as obviously just trying to piss off Man United. I'm sure there's some, maybe even 5% aspect in that as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of looking at it. Like I say, I wouldn't mind Frenkie de Jong at all. I just hope that fans will be realistic in what he will do. I personally don't think he solves our creative issue from central areas. I don't think he solves that with what I think he will do when he plays for us. That's all I'm saying. I don't not want him. Like, I know I'm not usually a big fan of the argument, oh, it's not my money, so what do I care? I'm not usually about that. But I'm like, if the manager that we want to back wants that, if the owner wants that, and he's a very good player, do I prefer that, or do I prefer not getting anyone? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if they're willing to pay it, and they will know better than I will, whether it will impact us on other things in the future. So who am I to say, oh, you can't pay £75 million, you can only pay 55? Like, if they say that 20 million more and it doesn't really affect us negatively, then what does it matter? The only negative to it is giving Barcelona money, and I would find it quite hilarious if they were just screwed. That would be the best thing. Imagine if they're just so screwed that they can't register anyone, and then we just get everyone for free. Do you know what I mean? Like, which we need to talk about, is currently potentially rumoured to be the situation for Frank Chelsea and Andreas Christensen. Now, as far as I'm aware, Lewandowski and Rafinha might have been registered, although I feel like there have also been varying reports on that one. But yeah,
it says on Twitter that Lewandowski, Kessie, Christensen, Rafinha, Dembele, Koundé, and Sergio Roberto all have not been registered.
Well, there you go.
We should have been all over Frank Kessie if he doesn't get registered, because that solves a lot of issues.
That's the next thing. The problem is, I reckon Barcelona will fix their issue in the end, and then if we sit there waiting for Frank Kessie, we get nowhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but then how much do Barcelona have left to sell? They're selling themselves off everywhere. Like, how much do they have left before they sell?
Well, Aubameyang, who apparently our manager wants, so we're giving them even more money.
By the way, this is another reason why they want to sell Frenkie as well.
Yeah, of course. This is the main reason why they want to sell him. Or do you mean?
But then doesn't that counteract, because they want to then go and sign Bernardo straight away anyway?
Yeah, but he still wouldn't be on the, like, essentially what I saw from the Barca sources was that so they want, because De Jong's wages right now are like €550,000 or something. And essentially they want Frenkie to take a 50% wage cut, and then Bernardo to take the other percent. By the way. Yeah, so essentially when Bernardo comes in, it would be the same wages overall as having Frenkie's current wages, but at the same time, it's like, how the hell? And it's also like, how do they afford Bernardo if they don't sell Frenkie? It's like, it makes no sense. So I'm so caught up in it.
That's where we get into. Let me just explain this. What the whole explanation that we got about Timo Werner's, how the money is deferred when you sign a player. The explanation is very crucial to explaining how Barcelona, by selling 1 or 2 players, can afford to sign 5. Because when you buy a player, you on accounting, spread it out over their contract length. So if you give a player let's say a 5-year contract for easy's sake, and you buy it for 50 million, then you pay 10 million per year on your accounting books of that transfer fee. So that's why, but when you sell someone, you obviously have all of that income in one go, unless there's an agreement of installments, but probably won't be in this case, right? So that would mean an income of 80 million, but then on the yearly accountings, only an outcome of, say, 10 million, 15 million, whatever they paid for some player per season. So that's why with one signing, they can afford, and obviously wages is its own part, because that's partly also Barcelona's problem, the La Liga wage gap, which is tied to their income. But yeah, so basically that's how selling one big one explains how they can afford multiple others, basically. But yeah, this Andreas Christensen situation, I'm not sure if it was true. I saw somewhere that people got baited, that he changed his bio or whatever, but there was more rumors that he changed his profile picture and took up a post as well, where someone swore to me they saw a Barcelona post on his feed and that isn't there anymore now. So I don't know what that situation is about, but sorry, Lewis, no, we're not taking Andreas Christensen over Fofana. The guy decided to leave, bailed on us on the day of the FA Cup final. Absolutely not taking him back. Stay in Barcelona, and if that fails out on you and you can't even get registered, well, the grass isn't always green on the other side. So should have learned that before. But what do you think about the situation? That I wouldn't say there's been rumours that we could actually go for Christensen. It's mostly been fans, started by Lewis, talking about, maybe we should get Christensen back. But their situation is such a shambles. Their league starts in 2 days, and they don't have 5 or whatever players registered. It's ridiculous.
No, that's why I don't get this whole Frenkie situation. Like, surely they have to force him out the club. Like, I know he wants to stay, but
that's the problem. If he refuses to leave,
I don't know. I guess
that's
why they're threatening
to his head or something.
Yeah, they're threatening that legal action or something, right? I don't know. He wouldn't be able to play any games if he doesn't register and accept this wage cut. So it's kind of stupid. But yeah, I think the Christensen thing will sort itself out. I know Lewis did quote my tweet when I posted it out, saying, like, we're back up, Christensen high and stuff like that. But I think they'll get him registered in that. I just think Frankie's a different situation because of his high wages. Like, it's a ridiculous amount. So, I mean, something has to be imminent. They literally. By the way, I don't know if they play tomorrow or is it just the start of La Liga, because everyone's saying it has to be either today or tomorrow they start, or they have to register players. So. Maybe it's just the registering that have to be tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the first La Liga game. Tomorrow evening.
They play on Saturday.
Play the first game on Saturday.
So I mean, we're going to find out today or tomorrow what's happening. That's for sure. That's certain. Anyway.
Exactly. See, my only logic is if Frenkie de Jong stays adamant that he will not take the wage cut and still wants to stay, that tells me that his lawyers will have told him that his contract is watertight and that it's not invalid. Because I think if his contract was invalid, I think he'd just already have accepted. If his lawyers confirmed that to him, I think he would have probably already accepted. I've just realised, ladies and gentlemen, that I've not plugged in my microphone and I probably sound way worse than usual to you. So let me change that quickly before I plug that in. What a stinker from me. Let me pose the question to you. Let me go to you, Pies. De Jong is one thing. But then we take it to Aubameyang, who I think we need to discuss. Now, obviously, we had initially a slight differing in opinions in terms of is he good, is he not? But I don't know. Now, number one, I haven't seen any realistic transfer fee for him, which could happen. So, number one, do you have any idea how much it would cost us? And we need to just discuss why Thomas Tuchel wants him so badly and why he thinks he would improve upon things that we have issues with at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there's not been any reporting about certain fee. It was said that Chelsea are going to make a bid. Matt Law said we're preparing a bid. I mean, he's 33 years old now. I think he's scored 11 goals in like 13 or 14 starts for Barca, so he's still a goal scorer. It's just, I don't really. I mean, I know why Tuchel wants him because he's worked with him, but he's worked with plenty of players. That doesn't mean you have to sign somebody. I mean, in the press conference the other day, he was asked, he was asked about his goal. He's asked about his goal record, and Tuchel was like, "Yeah, I would love 79 goals." And I was like, "That for me, I don't know whether he's just sort of taking the piss with the media, but if that's like his only thought, oh yeah, got goals for me before, that's a bit like naive in my opinion. Like that was so many years ago. It's like I remember when I was really excited about Tuchel working on Christian Pulisic because he was Tuchel was the first guy to sort of notice him and manage him and stuff like that. And you look how that's gone. So yeah, I don't know. There's red flags over the deal. But at the same time, it can come down to stuff like ex-Arsenal players usually do very well at Chelsea. He has done very well in the Premier League. I feel like with Aubameyang, I'm kind of like scraping at sort of scraps to try and find positives of it. Whereas the reality is, he's here for 1 or 2 years. There's questions about his attitude. Although Arsenal fans, some defenders of Aubameyang are out there and saying, look, Arteta was bad to him and stuff like that. So for me, I don't really know if he suits our system.
Always blame everything on the manager.
Yeah, I don't really know if he suits our current way of playing, to be honest with you. For me, Aubameyang's the one that really likes to run in behind, that's probably better with another striker. Although, I said that, and Barca fans were like, no, he's actually plays in our possession team. He's actually quite good. So I was like, okay, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I would agree that he's more suited to running in behind, probably kind of counter-attacking. But obviously, he's played at Arsenal, who don't really counter-attack didn't counter-attack until Arteta came in. And that's the one guy I had a problem with, if anything. That was also the guy where he started having a few issues with scoring. He didn't have problems scoring under Emery or Wenger or whoever else they had. They didn't have problems under those guys scoring goals. I think he was still signed under Wenger, right? Or was that after? Might have been signed after Wenger left, actually.
I think it was after, yeah.
It could have been. Regardless, right? And now at Barcelona, he does okay. But like, he's 33 years old. It's just... And I know he has different attributes to him. But then when I see like, we're going after Aubameyang for 14 goal contributions in 27 games or whatever it is for Barcelona, but we let Tammy Abraham go. I'm like, the more we just keep doing silly things with our strikers, the more I'm like, but Tammy Abraham is the one you decided to not even put on the bench. I don't understand. I don't understand the Aubameyang one, especially when Depay could be available for free and Aubameyang couldn't. Someone asked me in the chat a minute ago, what makes you think Depay would fit Chelsea? I think he would fit us perfectly to a T, because our team cannot cope with having an actual proper striker that has striker movements. We don't understand how to play with strikers. Part of the problem is that we've played with not real strikers for too long. Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, too long. And then we had a year of Lukaku just didn't move at all. So no one's used to striker movements anymore, right? So, and that's why I really wanted Gabriel Jesus. I would have preferred Gabriel Jesus to Raheem Sterling. Now, I would have loved both, but I actually think Gabriel Jesus would have been more important to fixing our issues than Raheem Sterling, in my personal opinion. And look at how he's been at Arsenal in pre-season and in the first game. And I think Depay has some sort of similarities to Gabriel Jesus, where he's a kind of a mix of can play on the wing, can play in the middle. He's better at shooting, arguably, not even arguably, but I would say better at shooting. Now, is he as good in terms of pressing as Gabriel Jesus? Probably not. But therefore, he's great at set pieces. Like I say, great at shooting, great at dribbling. I understand he failed at Manchester United previously, but, we had Lukaku, who was great previously, and that failed for us. So maybe we need to get the Premier League players that failed for others and get them ourselves. I would think that would make way more sense than Pierre-Emerick Aumbameyang. But at the same time, if Thomas Tuchel wants him, I'm not going to be able to stop it, number one. And then, hey, if he does come in, let's see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, then Thomas Tuchel will just get cooked by me. You know what I mean? Like I say, I can't stop him buying. I can't stop us buying him. So I would just have to see how it goes. But Aaron, do you reckon Aubameyang could be a good idea? I don't know. I mean, I get that people always say, ex-Arsenal players to Chelsea are always great. Yeah, but do you constantly want to risk that? And also, Giroud was good, but imagine he was our starting striker for his whole time here. Well, he wouldn't have been. We would have always bought new strikers because he wasn't quite good enough for that. So, do we want another Giroud? Because Aubameyang is never going to be another Giroud. Because if he plays every now and again, he will cause too many issues, in my opinion.
Personally, I don't want anything to do with Aubameyang, but that's just me, based off of how his latter time at Arsenal when he was pure shit. So, given that and his sort of attitude issues, okay, he's gone to Barcelona, seen a bit of a resurgence and that sort of thing, but I don't think that then warrants Chelsea going in for him and paying a somewhat higher fee than what they should for a 33-year-old. But yeah, like I said, I don't think it's a great idea. I think there's probably others in the market we could be going for. Even you said Depay, being from exactly the same club, but he's more likely to have his contract terminated, so technically be a free transfer. Obviously,
And
Juventus
also probably demand less in wages.
Yeah, 100%.
I would
I think
assume.
obviously Juventus are already interested in Depay on like a 2-year deal or something, but Chelsea should be sticking their noses in for that as well, because that'd be a lot better signing than Aubameyang, based on the fact that he is, as you said, like that sort of player that not only can play out wide sort of thing, can play in the middle, and because we're not used to playing with the striker, it makes a hell of a lot more sense. Whereas with Aubameyang, it's kind of like you have to sort of play to his strengths, because he's still quick, but he's not got the legs that he once had, like under Tuchel before. So
that is also important to remember as well. I think you make a good point there.
Yeah, he's
Aubameyang is not that 99 pace Donny he was 4 years ago anymore. I don't think he looks like that anyway.
No, his legs have given up a lot in recent years, and I don't think he's not going to be anything the same player that Tuchel remembers from Dortmund days. So I don't think it's a great idea. I think it's all well and good getting in for Frenkie, but then if you're going to go for a second Barcelona player, it should be Depay and not Aubameyang.
I probably would agree. I mean, obviously, a lot of it depends on how much money he would cost. Like, it makes a big difference to me whether they would demand like 30 million or 10 million. Like, it makes a big difference in how okay with it I would be, and also his wage demands. Like, would he be on 250 or would he be on like 150?
I think he's on 100 at Barca.
Yeah, but only for the first 6 months. His contract has gone. I'm not sure if from June 1st or from the season start, but his contract from this summer goes up to over 200k a week. I heard Matt Law say. That was kind of the agreement, because Barcelona were so struggling for money when they signed him in January. They were like, okay, you take the super low contract on under 100k for the first 6 months, and then basically saying, oh, we'll have fixed our money problems by the summer, and then you get the bigger contract, which is why he agreed. So
Simon Phillips also said that his sources aren't really that confident that a deal for Aubameyang will get done, because of the fact that he is very happy and settled in Barcelona, and he actually wants to stay there as well. So it's actually
somebody settled somewhere after 6 months. What is it down about? But I mean, I also, like I say, he was Arsenal captain. Like, as much as he was a shit Arsenal captain, as most of their captains are, since probably since Tony Adams. No, there's been a few of these.
William Gallas.
Yeah. William Gallas. But no.
Number 10 sat on the halfway line crying his eyes out.
There you go. Cesc Fabregas, who left for Barcelona and then came to us for them.
Same career path.
So it's also like I would also understand from his perspective, if maybe he would say I was Arsenal captain, maybe I shouldn't be going to Chelsea. Like, I understand that, and I would, if anything, I would respect if that was why he would say no. But that makes me even more think, if that's the case, that he might not even be down. Why are we letting Depay talk to anybody else if we can't get Aubameyang? Unless the plan is to, like we discussed a little earlier, go for a late Ronaldo move. But Pies, number one, what do you think? How that will develop? And number two, do you think if we were to sign Aubameyang, that means Broja actually does leave and doesn't stay around like it looks like right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's another interesting one. I don't want Broja to leave. I really, really want him to stay. I'm
no,
big on
good in that cameo against them.
Yeah,
I also watched like 2 clips back, and I was like, I like it.
Yeah, I've just got something for Broja. Like, I feel like he could be really good for us. There's something inside me that believes that with the way he plays. So, yeah, I think Aubameyang probably would hurt his chances of staying, to be fair, because I don't think he then. I don't know. But then would he start playing 2 strikers or what? I don't know. Like,
But I've never heard of Aubameyang playing a 2-striker formation ever. So
I'm quite confused again why he really wants him.
Yeah,
it's obvious. The thing we know is because they've worked together. But so what? Like, he's worked with loads of players. He's just going to go and buy one of the old PSG players because he worked with him. Like, I don't know, man. I'd rather go for Depay. And hey, look, we might go for Depay. I mean, he's going to be a free agent. Just because Juventus are advancing on it doesn't mean he can't wait and listen to other offers. So let's see. I feel like let's see when the next Aubameyang news comes out, and we'll go from there. But yeah, it was definitely reported by various people, including Matt Law, that we are going to bid. And as you said, it makes a massive difference to me. What is it, like 10 mil, or is it like 20, 30 mil? Because and his wages as well. Like he's 33. I actually thought he was like 31, but he's 33 years old. Like for a striker as well. Like come on, like you might as well just. I mean, it's kind of a stupid point because he extended his contract, but I was like wondering whether Chelsea should try for like Jamie Vardy or something because he's actually still in the Premier League. Like he's not really declining. So I don't know.
But it probably makes it even more difficult to get Fofana if we take Vardy away from them as well.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're looking at, I mean, Barca and Leicester, they're both in financial difficulties. Like, who would you rather bid for? Like, I don't really get why we're bidding for Aubameyang, to be honest with you. But hey, look,
especially if the pie is available on a free. Like, if they both cost money and maybe one costs more than the other, especially, then it's like, okay, Tuchel knows Aubameyang, so that's why he'd prefer it. But surely if one costs money, the other one doesn't. It's a no-brainer.
It's interesting. It's interesting because it's not. So the pie they have to file for free agency. And I think a lot of sources have been saying, well, they're only going to get rid of one. I was thinking, well, how could they do that if the pie's on a free agency? So maybe they have some sort of control over Aubameyang first before they let the pie go to a free agency, was what I was thinking. And then say Aubameyang stays, they make the pie then becomes a free agent. I think then we'd probably go for that. So I think we could actually end up with the pie. I mean, even Fabrizio saying it depends on Aubameyang to Chelsea development. So I was thinking, how? Because Depay is going to be a free agent, but I feel like they might have.
But no one's reported that we are interested in Depay, though.
Matt Law said we have tentative interest. There is some interest there, but it's not.
Maybe
again, sounds like Aubameyang's serious interest. So sounds like Tuchel would prefer him.
Yeah, no, he obviously prefer Aubameyang. I think that's certain. But say Aubameyang wants to stay or something, then I think someone like Depay on a free agent could just become like, a done deal in a matter of a couple of days, because it's much easier getting a free agent than negotiating with a club, right? So,
but then just a side note from that as well, wasn't there a Matt Law thing from a few days ago or something that said Chelsea was having a look at Victor Osimhen from Napoli as well? He said
it's just
keep an eye on that or something.
Nonsense.
But even if it's a real link, do we want that? Like
I'd rather buy Tammy back. He scored more than Osimhen for a worse team in this Serie A. I don't want Osimhen.
That's what I'm saying. And also, I would say Osimhen is probably most suited to playing counter-attacking. Like, and do we really want another Serie A striker after what happened last season? Like,
we don't.
I'm sorry.
I really like the fact that we're either going for, absolute ballers or experienced players like Koulibaly and De Jong, or we're going for Premier League proven and Premier League players. Like, I do like that move. I don't want to. It's why I don't really like. I mean, Aubameyang is Premier League proven, but still, it's the first sort of link this summer, serious link that I'm like, I'm not sure on it.
No. You didn't want a Nathan Ake either.
I did. I mean, I wasn't. I wasn't sort of. I mean, I definitely would have backed it over, like you or Clutch or someone else, to be fair, but I'm very happy. Like seeing where we've come from, like Ake and stuff, to Koulibaly. It's like it's night and day. Like I just never thought we'd ever get Koulibaly, to be honest.
No,
I didn't think it was realistic.
And even more so, I never thought we would get Fofana. I mean, so far we haven't.
No, yeah, exactly.
I never even considered Fofana as a valid option, if I'm honest, earlier in the window.
Even with Koundé, I was like, well, for me, he only really plays centre back. Like, I didn't want him playing wing back or even right back. So even with that one, I was like, I'm not, I like him, but I'm not really sure. Whereas all of our other targets, like, yeah.
Before I take it back to Aaron, and before we also take it back to talking about Fofana in a little bit more detail than we did at the beginning, there's a few more rumours of outgoings, right? So number one, we still have no real update on Marcos Alonso to Barcelona, which is weird considering he basically asked to not be in the squad on Saturday, and now it's Thursday and still nothing has happened. So that's brilliant. Or do they need to sell also Frenkie de Jong to make him happen? Who knows?
I'm pretty sure I saw something earlier that said he's waiting for the green light to make sure they can register him. So, I mean,
but the other players didn't wait for that green light. So, like Rafinha, Lewandowski,
hey, they've got like 9 or 10 players to register. Like, it's a joke.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They've got like 9 players to register.
Complete joke. And their fans are even more of a joke. How they booed Martin Braithwaite. You are a disgrace to yourselves. Like, make mess or make Keon Club is their whole thing. What? And you boo your players on a player presentation. Now, you are a joke of a bunch of cretins. Like, honestly, the lot of you. Crazy. But other outgoings, like I swear I've seen links that Atalanta Bergamo and Nottingham Forest are interested in Emerson. Is that a thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty
What
sure
do
I
you
saw
know
that
about
as well.
That was from Nazar, so I mean, not really been taking him too serious this summer, but it might be true.
Do you think Nizar has lost credibility from goal to standard, or if anything, it's gone up, or does it not make a difference, the publication for you?
Yeah, I do think so. I'm not necessarily sure whether it's just because he's moved, but I just think like he's becoming a lot more sort of, when I look at his articles, it's more like generic stuff we already know. But then you know what's funny is that Matt Law was on the London is Blue podcast like yesterday, and he was saying, I was listening to it, and he was saying it's really, really hard at the moment with the change of regime to get Chelsea info. And he said all the journalists are really suffering from it. So it's like that's kind of calmed me down.
But is
like,
that true though? Because we knew every single player we were linked with. We knew of every single bid, other than Chukwuemeka and Koulibaly.
Yeah, I think he
Like
said
we
it's
knew
more
of
like the
everything
timing, though.
ages in advance.
No, like I think he said it's more like the timing of, like, for example, when Chelsea are putting this bid in, because you see all the stories are saying this week Chelsea are going to put the third bid in for Fofana, but I think he was saying like we're not like getting real any info about when that's like. Usually on the old regime, I'd get a good idea of when the timing, so you'd know what day or stuff like that are going. Whereas now it's kind of like it just they don't know, like they don't know when this third bid's going in. They don't know when Chelsea are bidding for De Jong, or they just know the targets, but they don't know specifics anymore. He said it's getting quite hard. So, I mean, when it's a quiet week like this, it's like if that is the case with the journalists, I mean, it's quiet for a reason because they're obviously doing decent at keeping negotiations behind closed doors. So, I mean, fair enough.
Apparently.
Yeah, it's definitely annoying.
Well,
I mean,
Brendan Rodgers tells us everything in every press conference anyway.
Yeah, I mean that was interesting as well. It's like he was sounding defeated earlier, and I was
wait
like,
for that. We'll get to the Fofana. We'll get to Fofana
right.
in a minute. I do want. Sorry to interrupt you there. I do want to talk about a few outgoings earlier. Fair enough. We're not 100% sure whether Nizar's rumor obviously is to be relieved, but obviously I assume we're still looking to get rid of Emerson with us having signed Cucurella and obviously using Ben Chilwell clearly over Emerson. But is there any other outgoing links at the moment? One thing we have to say is Malang Sarr's loan move to Monaco for a loan fee of 600,000 euros, I think, has been confirmed. They also have an obligation to buy for £10 million, but that obligation only becomes active if he plays a certain number of games this season, but we don't know as of yet what that number of games is, because obviously if they're not happy with him, they're just not going to play him over that amount, so they don't have to buy him. But if they're happy with him, they're probably quite happy to pay it. So that's good. We got one of the books, but other than Emerson, is there anybody else at the moment that's strongly being talked about leaving still? That not really. There's a few small links for Gallagher. Obviously, maybe if we sign Aubameyang with Brozier, but otherwise, I've not heard anything about Billy Gilmore in a while. I've not heard much about Ethan Ampadu. I thought a week ago it was almost confirmed that he would go to La Spezia, and then he hasn't. So, do you know anything?
Yeah, no, I think on Gallagher, I was just going to say the West Ham United ITK or whatever. Like, he's very good for West Ham. He said that they're in active dialogue with Chelsea and they'll make a move if he becomes available. So I think, again, that one probably does depend on De Jong. I think that's very obvious. We would have 6 midfielders. Carney's staying, so I think Gallagher would go. And yeah, other players. I mean, Kepa to Napoli has gone quiet. I don't think they're getting him anymore.
Have Leicester already replaced Schmeichel?
They haven't, no, but I saw they were linked with some other guy earlier, I think. But
some 32-year-old.
We should offer him to them. Do you know what I mean? Make him part of the Fofana deal, surely.
Yeah, I said that to Ben Jacobs. I was like, Chelsea should do Kepa plus, I don't even know, 70 million or something. I don't care. And he was like, yeah, well, I don't really know if Leicester are interested. And I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's not too much. I mean, Loftus-Cheek was again rumored to be in conversations with Fofana deal, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere, to be honest with you. I don't really get, like, apparently we're still like, it's a live consideration, the wing back, but it's like, for some reason I can't see that happening. Just a gut feeling.
No, what can you not see happening?
The right wing back situation. I feel like
we'll
Ruben
sign another one.
Yeah, I feel like Ruben will stay with Jones.
Yeah, I think Ruben will stay, and like depending on opposition, Aspie will be the backup.
Yeah,
and
unfortunately,
depending on opposition,
Aspie
Ruben
can
will
play
be the
there as well.
backup. And I assume the only logic I have for that, if that is how it turns out, is that if we sign Livramento next summer, otherwise we should be getting on signing a right wing back ASAP. But obviously, if we're going for Livramento next summer, then it's fair. But the problem is with Livramento, we don't know how good he's going to be again after his ACL and how quickly it's going to be good again, because I doubt we're going to be willing. Also, do we know, Pi? Sorry, before I take it back to Hussein, to Aaron, both, whatever. Like, do we know whether this buyback clause is only active next summer, or would it theoretically also be active the summer after?
Who is this for?
Gino Livramento.
Oh, it's 2023 summer, I think. So yeah, I think it's
But
next
only,
summer.
or is it from 2023 summer? Because do you know what I mean?
I think it's from 2023. I think.
Okay,
Might have to
because
double
that would
check that,
theoretically allow us to also buy him a year later if he just takes a bit longer to recover from the injury fully.
Yeah,
But
I
still,
think once they become active, you have that for a certain amount of period of time.
Yeah, that's true, probably. But yeah, like I say, but then if it's 2 years until we sign him, then I think we should probably buy someone and not have Ruben and Aspie as the backups, especially if Reece is on the form that he was against Everton. Like, obviously, hope to God that he plays like the sick Reece James we know and love against Tottenham on Sunday. But if he continues to struggle with form for longer, then that's an issue because then I'm not particularly happy with that. But let's finish off by talking about Fofana. Before I take it to you, Pies, in terms of potential, details, Aaron, I'm not sure if I've asked you this before, but would you be interested in us signing Fofana? Or do you think he costs way too much money?
I think the fee is quite high, but the same way, Fofana is a very good player, and I think he'd fit in perfectly with us. It's just the fee does seem quite high for a player that young and that sort of thing, coming back from an injury. But again, it's like the transfer fees that you're now looking at these days it's always going to end up being on the more stupid end, a lot more than it should be. But if we're willing to pay the money and we really want him that badly, then there's got to be a reason for it. They clearly see just how good he can be by offering up 80 million. So I really would like Fofana, but it's just I personally think the fee is a little bit high for what we're considering, all the rest of the spending that we're doing this window as well. I think the fee is a little bit high, but where we have the ability to spend the money, and if that's someone they really want and they want a full send for him, then it's fair enough, I guess.
We ain't got a choice now, have we? Let's be serious. We've got to buy Fofana. We can't we can't not spend the money now. It's a joke. We can't go back for Skriniar now. It would just be a huge letdown, in my opinion. We've got to buy him.
Aaron, were you trying to say something?
Oh yeah, so this would basically be like a part 2 of Koundé, pretty much. Going for
exactly.
All
That's why we shouldn't
skills.
put out anymore. I agree. And it's a little bit of a situation like I explained with the Frenkie de Jong situation, where I'm like, well, we've already bid more than 70. At that point, do I care whether we pay 80? I mean, like Ben Jacobs has said here, Brendan Rodgers confirms both rejected bids for Wesley Fofana in his press conference. Once again, his language softened from not just for sale last week to not looking to sell as Chelsea continued to push. He basically said, yeah, we've received 2 offers. So far, they're miles off our consideration, but of course, the club will consider offers type thing. As he says, third bid is not expected to be a world record for centre-backs. They're not talking world record in total transfers. As reported yesterday, Chelsea hoping for under £80 million still. Remains to be seen if that's enough to test Leicester's resolve. And then obviously he talks about the Young situation again at the very bottom. Yeah, like I say, in general, I would agree with Aaron that I think if the situation wasn't as desperate for us in terms of needing centre-backs and more other centre-backs, more good centre-backs being willing to join us and being available, I think maybe I would be willing to look at someone else rather than Fofana just because of the price. But in the situation we're in with how good he is and with how, like, he broke his shin, like his fibula, but he came back and from his return pretty much started every game. They can't have been, like, even if I didn't watch every game, the fact that he played every game, like, and his match ratings in where I looked were always good. Like,
yeah, he doesn't look out of place at all.
There. Like, again, I haven't watched it. I haven't fully have the, like, even though I've watched Chelsea against Leicester, I didn't necessarily pay so much attention to Fofana, I will be honest. When I watch Chelsea games, I pay attention to Chelsea, right? But the fact that those things happened, I don't think that the injury is that big of an issue anymore. Otherwise, you don't start every game after, in my head. So let's just get it done. But yeah, like Pies obviously said at the very, very beginning, we had the 2 earlier bids last week, pretty much like back to back. First one, no. Second one came straight after. Now it's been nearly a week since the last bid. So yeah, the presumption must or has to be that we're trying to just discuss in advance and then make sure we bid the third bid is the correct offer, which Leicester will accept, rather than throwing in another bid and waiting as to what they will, just waiting for what they will say. But Pies, in terms of timescale, obviously I know it's difficult because no one really knows, as you just explained with Matt Law, none of them know. But I mean, at some point we need to get this done. Like, it's August 11th now. That means we still have a little while to go. But the later we get towards the window, the less likely also oppositions will be happy to sell players. Like, I assume Leicester would probably need and want a replacement as well if they lost Fofana. So, like, we can't faff around for too much longer.
No, absolutely. It looks like, they're obviously going to plan to play against Arsenal on the weekend. Whether or not a deal can be done tomorrow or on the Friday and then he doesn't play on the weekend, that would be absolutely ideal. But again, there's been no real sort of indication for us as fans, at least, to believe that. It's just, it's hard. We don't know what's happening. I refuse to believe that they've done nothing this week. I do definitely think, especially with Brendan Rodgers' comments, the way he's just changing tune constantly feels like it's a situation that's constantly developing, but it's taking a lot of time.
And it will.
Like it's a big deal.
When than an if, personally.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Like, let's be honest, this could be a world record fee. This isn't something that gets done in 3 days or whatever. So, yeah, we just got to wait.
There you go. I mean, Supreme, that is a bit of an over-exaggeration here. If they're both going to cost around 80, that doesn't equal to 200. That's 160. But quick maths. But otherwise, Pies, is there much in terms of transfer news that we haven't discussed it? I don't quite think there is. There was a Raheem Sterling press conference today. I'm not sure if either of you watched it. I did. It was the most boring press conference I've ever seen. Nothing to do with Raheem Sterling. He did nothing wrong. But they just asked him the same question 6 times, basically. And the whole stream by Chelsea was 45 minutes long. 11 minutes of that was with Raheem Sterling. But if you're going to do press conferences that short, then they're going to ask that dumb questions. Why even do a press conference with him? Like, surely just wait until the first Champions League press conference and do it then. Like, at that point, the Koulibaly's, there was at least some good questions. It was quite funny and entertaining and stuff. But Sterling's was a bit pointless. But Pies, is there anything else?
I don't think so. Trying to think.
There's the young midfielder from Inter, the Chelsea are meant to be going back in for.
Oh yeah,
he's linked to
Cesare or something.
Cascade or some shit like that.
I think Cesare.
Yeah, but they're saying that Nice are in for him as well, and they're looking to stick a buyback option in, which is, I don't think Chelsea want to do that, which is why it's looking a bit more.
Obviously not. Yeah, we obviously have to bid more than Nice would if we that's obvious. But yeah, it's a tough one. Like I say, like we've discussed earlier, we've not had that many big decisive news except this apparent ultimatum that Barcelona have posed to Frenkie de Jong. So far, we haven't had any updates today. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, we still have 300 people watching, which I massively appreciate. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. We're getting ever closer to 15,000 subscribers. Didn't quite hit it last time, but we're getting ever closer. So if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. Just one click of the big red button down below. And if it turns out you're not so happy subscribing, you can just unsubscribe in a few weeks' time. But for now, subscribe. I reckon you'll enjoy it. We'll be back for a Spurs preview tomorrow. We're back for player rating stream on Sunday, straight after the Spurs game. We'll have a great time. So get subscribed, smash the like button as well. It'll be very much appreciated. But yeah, I can't really think of any other outgoings. Can't really think of any other incomings other than the right wing back situation. I mean, Pies, we discussed it a second ago. You know what? I'll actually go to Aaron with it first. What is your thoughts on this? Do you think we should be signing a right wing back? Do you think we're fine if we have Reece James and then Aspie and Ruben as backups depending on our position? Or do you think we should be going for someone right now?
I think it all really depends on what they have planned for Livramento, because, for example, when you have the buyback option next year, if you sign a right wing back now, we're kind of linked with what Dumfries and Walker Peters and stuff. If you're buying someone like that now, then it makes no sense in a year's time to then also go and buy Livramento, because you're going to have 3 right backs. You'll have Reece James, you'll have another one that we buy now if we do, and then you'll have Livramento as well. So it kind of all depends on that. If they're if they're not planning on buying Livramento back next year, then it makes sense to buy one now. But if they're planning to buy him back next year, then it's sort of you can use Loftus-Cheek and Azpilicueta as like a stopgap just for this season as rotation. So I think it all depends really, but it'll be interesting to keep an eye on.
I do agree. Like I say, obviously, I said it a minute ago. When's the quiz game, Age? And I got a quiz game. The quizzes are only happening in the preview. So there will be 5 questions as a quiz for Chelsea-Tottenham quiz. That will be tomorrow. So we're back on that tomorrow. And there is one very good question. We'll have a great time laughing about it. So
Ice is going to be cheating tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, I'm winning again 2-0 in the matchups. Trust me.
See about that.
Big fan. But honestly, we will love those questions. So get involved again. If you want to see our Chelsea versus Spurs quiz tomorrow, get subscribed in the preview. But actually, Pies, one thing we haven't discussed: the rumors about potentially one of our current midfielders leaving. I feel like they're not the biggest rumors, not from the best sources, so that's why they're not as prominent, shall we say? But they are still out there. I swear, Graham Bailey was talking about Jorginho potentially leaving. That there is interest from Italy. Now, do you see any scenario at all in which we sign Frenkie de Jong and rather than it meaning Gallagher leaves, it could mean that Jorginho leaves? Could you see that happening? I personally don't want it to happen. I don't personally think it will happen, but the rumors are there.
I think it's highly unlikely, to be honest, especially because Koulibaly's coming in now, and he was one of the main reasons that he joined us because Jorginho was here. So I think if anything next summer, but this summer I don't expect anything to happen. You know what I was going to say though, because I don't know if you noticed, I didn't actually tell you, but so they did a Jorginho did like the Pride of London thing on YouTube.
I watched it,
and it was talking about all his time at Chelsea, and I thought, is that potentially sort of a years in the making for Chelsea fans to look back on, because he was talking about his journey and how he ended up here.
But how many other players have done the Pride video where they all talk about their history so far, right?
I think someone was making a comparison with Zuma done it, and then a year later he left, but I'm not sure.
Well, a year later potentially, but not tomorrow.
No, not this summer. I feel like this summer no one will leave apart from Gallagher, and maybe even Gallagher stays, and then the young guy Carney goes on loan, but we just haven't heard anything about that yet. So. But I don't know. Someone will definitely move if we get Frenkie. But yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with him? I'm literally anxiously waiting for something. But yeah, it's stressing because I really want him, but at the same time, I just feel like it's going to be another. Somehow he stays at Barca, and everyone else is in the Barca.
Positivity, Pies. Positivity. We'll cross our fingers, touch all the wood that we can find, and we have to remain positive. We have to, what's the word? You talk something into existence.
I know what you mean, but I can't think.
Manifest.
That's it. Thank you, Aaron. We were manifesting it into existence that he joined us. And Cayman, now chances are you're lying, but I hope it's true. And then I hope he suffers a horrible summer and has to cry his eyes out. Yeah, because unlucky, mate. You had us wait around for God knows how many weeks. I know we were twats to you before, but, eye for an eye is not how the world goes round. Eye for an eye just causes wars, and no one likes those. So you should have just said yes. And otherwise, if you said no now, so unlucky, lad. Nothing else really I can say. But I firmly believe that we've gone through all the rumours now. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round this out here. Please do check out my lovely friend Pice on both Twitter and his website. Both are linked down in the description, chelseafc365.com. And, of course, Twitter, like I say, Aaron still isn't particularly active on the socials. It's more of a reader than a poster. So you'll just have his opinions here every now and again. So appreciate him and say, we love you, Aaron. Why not? Just do that. But before you do that, or after you do that, don't really care. Again, subscribe, smash the like button. That would be phenomenal. Boys, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it very much. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.